The sound of my wife giggling like a teenager at 2 in the morning wasn't exactly what I expected to hear while hunched over architectural blueprints in our kitchen. But there it was, Sophia's voice drifting from the living room, all breathy whispers and suppressed laughter, the kind she used to save for me back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and she actually pretended to love me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Daniel Turner, 38 years old, and apparently stupid enough to think that working late on a Saturday night might impress my ambitious wife. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was designing dream homes for other people while my own marriage crumbled like cheap drywall. "Oh, you're so bad," Sophia purred into her phone, followed by more giggling that made my stomach twist into architectural knots. I set down my pencil and listened, because I'm a masochist like that. Through the doorway, I could see her sprawled on our expensive leather couch, the one she'd insisted we buy to project success, wearing that silk nightgown that cost more than most people's rent. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow night," she whispered. "Daniel will be at the office party, looking pathetic as usual. We'll have plenty of time." Well, that was enlightening. Nothing quite like discovering your wife's infidelity while calculating load-bearing requirements for someone else's happy home. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. I cleared my throat loudly and shuffled some papers. The giggling stopped abruptly, followed by hasty goodbyes and the sound of her phone snapping shut. "Working late again?" Sophia appeared in the kitchen doorway, her expression shifting from guilty to annoyed in record time. She had that talent, making me feel like the inconvenience in my own life. "Someone has to pay for your designer handbags," I replied, not looking up from my blueprints. "These houses don't design themselves." She snorted. "Right. Your little drawings. How noble." "These little drawings built this house, bought your BMW, and fund your shopping addiction. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the pathetic husband." Her eyes narrowed. "You were eavesdropping." "Hard not to when you are broadcasting your business to the whole neighborhood. Who's the lucky guy this time?" Sophia crossed her arms, pushing up her breasts in that calculated way she'd perfected. Once upon a time, that move would have distracted me. Now it just reminded me of how manipulative she'd become. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't. Just like you didn't know what you were talking about last month when you came home at 3 a.m. smelling like another man's cologne, or the month before that when you suddenly needed to work late every Friday." She laughed, but it was cold and sharp. "You're paranoid, Daniel. Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to those stupid blueprints, we wouldn't have this problem." "What problem? I thought everything was perfect in Sophia Land." "The problem is you." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to that venomous whisper she'd perfected. "You're boring, Daniel. Predictable. You sit here night after night drawing your little houses, thinking you're so important. But you know what? You're not. You're just ordinary." The words hit harder than they should have, maybe because there was some truth buried in the cruelty. "And your solution is to screw around behind my back?" "My solution is to find someone who makes me feel alive, someone who doesn't make me embarrassed to be seen in public." "Embarrassed?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I embarrass you." "God, yes. Do you know what my friends say about you? They call you Sophia's little architect. They wonder what I see in you. And honestly, so do I." She turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. "Oh, and Daniel, tomorrow night at the Riverside rooftop party, don't come near me. Don't talk to me. Don't even look at me. I have important people to impress, and you'll just drag me down." With that cheerful thought, she disappeared upstairs, leaving me alone with my blueprints and a marriage that had apparently been condemned without my knowledge. I sat back down, staring at the plans spread across our granite countertop. Funny how I could design the perfect home for strangers, but couldn't seem to fix my own life. The house on the blueprints had everything: open floor plans, natural light, spaces designed for families to grow and thrive together. Our house had none of that warmth. It was all sharp angles and cold surfaces, just like the woman sleeping upstairs. I picked up my phone and scrolled through Sophia's social media. There she was, posing with her marketing firm colleagues at various events, always perfectly made up, always surrounded by admirers. In most of the photos, I was either cropped out or relegated to the background, a supporting player in the Sophia show. The comments were telling. Her friends gushed about how gorgeous she looked, how successful she was, how lucky she was to live such an exciting life. Nobody mentioned her husband. I was invisible, even in my own marriage. But that phone call had changed something. The giggling, the whispered promises, the casual cruelty of her words. It all crystallized into a cold, hard truth. Sophia didn't just not love me anymore. She actively despised me. Well, that was about to become a problem for her. I closed the blueprints and headed upstairs. Tomorrow night's party was going to be very interesting indeed. The Riverside rooftop party was exactly the kind of pretentious affair Sophia lived for. Overpriced cocktails, networking disguised as socializing, and enough fake laughter to power a small city. The venue overlooked the river, all glass and steel and carefully arranged lighting designed to make everyone look successful and important. I nursed my whiskey and watched my wife work the room like a seasoned politician. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. A black dress that hugged every curve, jewelry that caught the light just right, heels that made her legs look endless. She was magnetic, drawing people into her orbit with practiced ease. And she was completely ignoring me, just as promised. "Daniel, there you are." My business partner Jake appeared at my elbow, already 3 drinks deep by the look of him. "Hell of a party, huh? Your wife sure knows how to make an entrance." I followed his gaze to where Sophia was holding court near the bar, surrounded by a group of men who were hanging on her every word. She threw back her head and laughed at something one of them said, her hand landing on his arm in a gesture that was just intimate enough to be noticed. "Yeah, she's quite the entertainer," I muttered. "That's Liam Brooks she's talking to," Jake continued, oblivious to my tone. "Big shot real estate agent. Moves million-dollar properties like they're candy bars. Word is he's looking for an architect for some luxury development project." Liam Brooks. Tall, tan, and handsome in that artificial way that screamed expensive grooming and personal trainers. The kind of man who wore his success like cologne, too much and impossible to ignore. He had his hand on the small of Sophia's back now, and she was leaning into him like a plant seeking sunlight. "Interesting," I said, pulling out my phone and discreetly snapping a few photos. "Very interesting." The evening progressed predictably. Sophia flirted shamelessly with half the men at the party, while I stood in corners, nursing drinks and being treated like furniture. Every so often, she'd glance my way with a look that clearly said, "Remember what I told you about staying away." But I was learning things, like how Liam Brooks couldn't keep his hands to himself, like how Sophia's friend Olivia kept whispering in her ear and giggling, like how the 2 women kept exchanging looks that seemed loaded with meaning. Around 10 p.m., things got interesting. "I think I'm going to call it a night," Sophia announced loudly enough for nearby people to hear. "These events are exhausting." But instead of heading toward me or the elevators, she made her way toward Liam, who was conveniently also preparing to leave. They didn't leave together. That would have been too obvious. But the timing was hardly coincidental. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. The parking garage was dimly lit and mostly empty. I stayed in the shadows, watching as Sophia and Liam met near his silver Porsche. There was nothing subtle about their embrace. Hands roaming, mouths locked together like teenagers behind the school gym. "God, I've wanted to do that all night," Liam said, his hands gripping her ass through that expensive dress. You're terrible," Sophia purred, but she was grinding against him like she was auditioning for a porn movie. "What if someone sees?" "Let them. You're incredible, Sophia. That husband of yours doesn't know what he has." "Daniel?" She laughed, and the sound was like ice water in my veins. "Daniel's a joke. He sits at home playing with his little drawings while I'm out here living in the real world. He's pathetic." "His loss is my gain," Liam said, kissing her neck. "My place?" "God, yes. I told him I was going home with Olivia. Girls' night, you know. He's so stupid he'll believe anything." They climbed into the Porsche, and I watched them drive away, my hands shaking with rage. Not just because of the cheating. I'd suspected that for months. It was the casual cruelty, the way she dismissed me like I was nothing, the sheer pleasure she took in deceiving me. I stood in that parking garage for a long time, letting the anger settle into something colder and more useful. Sophia thought I was pathetic, boring, predictable. She was about to learn just how wrong she could be. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the photos I'd taken, Liam's hand on her back, their intimate conversation at the bar, the way she'd leaned into him like a woman in love. Then I did something that would have shocked my wife. I called my old friend Barney, who owned Murphy's Dive Bar downtown and had connections throughout the city. "Danny boy," Barney's gravelly voice came through the phone. "Little late for a social call, isn't it? I need a favor, Barn. Information on a guy named Liam Brooks, real estate agent. Drives a silver Porsche, probably lives somewhere expensive." There was a pause. "This about your wife?" Barney had always been perceptive. "Maybe." "Give me 24 hours. And Danny? If you're thinking about doing something stupid, remember, revenge is a dish best served with witnesses." I smiled for the first time in hours. Don't worry, Barn. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I'm going to do something brilliant. Barney came through, as always. By Monday evening, I had a complete dossier on Liam Brooks: address, marital status, business dealings, even his favorite coffee shop. The most interesting detail? He was married to a woman named Kristen Brooks, a family law attorney with a reputation for taking no prisoners in divorce court. I sat in my empty house, scrolling through the information on my laptop, while Sophia was at another work dinner that would undoubtedly end with her in someone else's bed. The silence was actually peaceful for once. My phone buzzed with a text from my wife. "Working late again? Don't wait up." I laughed out loud. The audacity was almost admirable. I'd spent the last 2 days doing my own investigation, and the results were enlightening. Sophia's affair with Liam wasn't her only extracurricular activity. There were others: a client from her marketing firm, a guy from her gym, even what looked like something going on with her best friend Olivia. My wife wasn't just cheating, she was running a full-scale operation. The really interesting part was how sloppy she'd become. Photos on social media that didn't match her supposed whereabouts, credit card charges at restaurants across town when she claimed to be at the office, hotel receipts I found in her purse, because apparently she thought I was too stupid to look. She was right about one thing: I had been predictable. The old Daniel would have confronted her, demanded explanations, maybe suggested marriage counseling. The old Daniel would have tried to save a marriage that had been over for years. But the old Daniel was gone, replaced by someone who understood that some things couldn't be fixed, only demolished and rebuilt from the ground up. I opened a new browser window and started researching Kristen Brooks. Graduated top of her class from Northwestern Law, specialized in high-asset divorces, had a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in court. She was beautiful in a sharp, professional way, the kind of woman who could cut you to ribbons with a smile. Perfect. I found her office address and made a decision that would have terrified the old Daniel. I was going to pay Mrs. Brooks a visit. But first, I had some preparation to do. I spent the next hour going through Sophia's laptop. She'd never changed the password from our anniversary date, which was either touching or pathetic, depending on your perspective. Her email was a treasure trove of incriminating evidence, flirty messages with multiple men, explicit photos that made me want to bleach my brain, detailed plans for secret meetings. The most damning evidence was a group chat between Sophia, Olivia, and 2 other women from her office. They called themselves the Hunters and rated their conquests like they were reviewing restaurants. Married men got bonus points. The more successful and taken the target, the higher the score. It was sociopathic and brilliant and exactly what I needed. I downloaded everything to a secure drive, then sat back to admire my work. Sophia thought I was just a boring architect who didn't understand the real world. She had no idea that designing buildings required the same skills as planning a campaign: attention to detail, understanding of structural weaknesses, and the patience to see a project through to completion. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Daniel Turner?" The voice was female, professional, with an edge that suggested she didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Depends who's asking." "This is Kristen Brooks. I believe we have something to discuss." I nearly dropped the phone. "Mrs. Brooks, I was actually planning to contact you." "I'm sure you were. My husband came home Saturday night smelling like another woman's perfume and talking about some architect's wife he met at a party. It didn't take much investigation to connect the dots." "I see." "I don't think you do. See, Mr. Turner, I've been watching my husband's extracurricular activities for months, building a case. Your wife is just the latest in a long line of his conquests, but she might be the most useful." "Useful how?" "Because unlike his other affairs, this one involves someone whose husband might actually do something about it. Meet me tomorrow at Cafe Luna on 5th Street. Noon. Come alone and bring whatever evidence you have." The line went silent. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. Kristen Brooks was 3 steps ahead of me, and she was offering an alliance. This was either the best thing that could have happened or the beginning of my complete destruction. Either way, it beat sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I looked at the evidence spread across my desk: photos, emails, credit card statements, hotel receipts. Sophia had been careless because she thought I was harmless. She'd built her house of lies on a foundation of contempt and assumed I'd never be smart enough to bring it down. She was about to learn that underestimating an architect was a serious structural miscalculation. I closed the laptop and headed upstairs to bed. Tomorrow was going to be a very interesting day. Cafe Luna was the kind of upscale coffee shop that attracted lawyers, real estate agents, and other professionals who needed neutral territory for sensitive conversations. I arrived 10 minutes early and chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance, my architect's training making me automatically assess sightlines and exit routes. Kristen Brooks walked in exactly at noon, and she was even more formidable in person than her photos suggested. Tall, blonde, with the kind of sharp beauty that came from good genes and better self-discipline. She wore a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my car payment, and she moved through the cafe like she owned it. "Mr. Turner." She slid into the seat across from me without offering to shake hands. "You look exactly like I expected." "And how's that?" "Like a man who's been systematically destroyed by his wife and doesn't quite know how to fight back yet." She signaled the waitress with a subtle gesture. "But that's about to change." The waitress appeared instantly. Kristen had that effect on service staff. "Double espresso, no sugar," she ordered, then looked at me expectantly. "Coffee, black." When the waitress left, Kristen opened a leather portfolio and slid a photograph across the table. It showed Liam and Sophia entering a downtown hotel, his hand possessively on her lower back. "This was taken last Thursday," she said. "I have 17 similar photos from the past month, plus credit card receipts, phone records, and a very interesting video from the hotel's elevator security camera." I studied the photo. Sophia looked radiant, alive in a way she never did at home. "You've been thorough." "I'm a lawyer, Mr. Turner. Thorough is what I do. The question is, what do you plan to do with the information you've gathered?" "What makes you think I've gathered anything?" She smiled, and it was sharp enough to cut glass. "Because you're here. Because you followed them Saturday night. Yes, I know about that. And because you have the look of a man who's finally stopped being a victim." I pulled out my own folder and slid it across the table. "Your husband isn't her only extracurricular activity." Kristen's eyebrows rose as she flipped through the evidence. Photos of Sophia with other men, screenshots of her group chat with the Hunters, credit card statements showing charges at restaurants and hotels across the city. "Well," she said finally, "your wife is certainly ambitious. She's also careless. She thinks I'm too stupid and boring to figure it out." "Are you?" "I design buildings, Mrs. Brooks. I understand structural integrity, load distribution, and what happens when you remove critical support elements. A marriage isn't that different from a building. Take away enough supporting structures, and the whole thing comes down." "Interesting analogy. What did you have in mind?" I leaned forward. "Public humiliation. Complete social destruction. I want her to lose everything. Her job, her friends, her reputation. I want her to understand what it feels like to be dismissed and discarded." "And my husband?" "He's collateral damage, but I assume a woman like you can handle one cheating real estate agent." Kristen closed the folder and sat back. "You know, Mr. Turner, when I walked in here I thought you might be useful. I didn't expect you to be interesting." "Is that a yes?" "That's a hell yes, but we do this my way. I'm not interested in anything illegal or violent. We're going to destroy them with their own actions, their own words, their own arrogance. I'm listening." She pulled out her phone and showed me a calendar app. "There's a big networking event this Friday night at the Marriott downtown. All the major real estate and marketing firms will be represented. Your wife will be there, my husband will be there, and so will about 300 of their colleagues and clients." "And?" "And that's where we're going to detonate the bomb you've been building. But first, we need to gather a little more ammunition." She slid a business card across the table. "That's my private investigator. He's going to help us document everything over the next few days. By Friday night, we'll have enough evidence to end both their careers and their marriage." I looked at the card. This is really happening. "Mr. Turner, your wife has been playing a game where she thought she was the only one who knew the rules. We're about to teach her that every game has players she didn't know existed." She stood to leave, then paused. "One more thing. After Friday night, there's no going back. Your marriage will be over, your wife will be destroyed, and you'll have to live with the consequences. Are you sure this is what you want?" I thought about Sophia's cruel laughter in the parking garage, her casual dismissal of our marriage, the way she'd looked at me like I was nothing. "Mrs. Brooks," I said, "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." She smiled, and for the first time it looked genuine. "Then let's go to war." The next 3 days passed in a blur of surveillance, evidence gathering, and careful planning. Kristen's private investigator, a former cop named Mike Sullivan, was worth every penny she was paying him. By Thursday evening, we had enough documentation to destroy both Sophia and Liam professionally and personally. But I wanted more than just evidence. I wanted a confession. "You're playing with fire," Mike warned as we sat in his car outside Sophia's office building. "If she realizes what you're doing—" "She won't," I interrupted. "Sophia's biggest weakness is her ego. She can't resist explaining how clever she is." My phone buzzed with a text from my wife. Working late again, client crisis, don't wait up. I showed the message to Mike, who chuckled. Client crisis. Is that what they're calling it now? Through the telephoto lens of Mike's camera, we watched Sophia exit the building at exactly 6:30 p.m. She'd changed from her business attire into something more suitable for seduction, a red dress that clung to her curves and heels that added 3 inches to her height. She climbed into her BMW and drove straight to the Riverside Hotel, where Liam was waiting in the lobby. They embraced like lovers in a movie, all passion and desperate need. It would have been touching if it wasn't so calculated. Room 412, Mike noted as they headed for the elevators. Same room they've used the last 4 times. I watched them disappear behind the elevator doors and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger anymore, something sharper and more focused. Sophia thought she was so clever, sneaking around behind my back, building her little empire of lies and betrayal. She had no idea what was coming. My phone rang. Kristen. Everything in position for tomorrow night? She asked. Ready to go. You have the presentation loaded? Every photo, every email, every credit card receipt. It's going to be quite a show. And the guest list? Everyone who matters in their professional circles, plus a few reporters I know who specialize in business scandals. Your wife wanted to be famous. She's about to get her wish. I ended the call and settled in to wait. Mike had positioned tiny cameras in the hotel hallway. Nothing illegal, just security footage from public areas that he'd obtained through perfectly legitimate channels. We'd have video evidence of every meeting, every embrace, every lie. But the real trap was still to come. At 9 p.m., I called Sophia. Daniel? She sounded breathless, probably because she'd just finished screwing another woman's husband. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to hear your voice. There was a pause. That's unexpected. I've been thinking about what you said the other night, about me being boring and predictable. Maybe you're right. Oh. She sounded confused, like this wasn't the conversation she'd been expecting. Well, I mean, we all have things we could work on. I want to work on us, Sophia. I want to be the kind of man you deserve. Another pause. Where is this coming from? I love you. I know I haven't been the best husband lately, but I want to try harder. Maybe we could go away somewhere this weekend? Just the 2 of us. I could practically hear the wheels turning in her head. This wasn't part of her plan. A desperate, clingy husband she could dismiss. A husband who was trying to change was more complicated. That sounds nice, she said finally. But I'm really swamped at work right now. Maybe in a few weeks? Of course. Work comes first. I understand. You do? Absolutely. Your career is important. More important than my feelings. Daniel, that's not what I... It's okay, Sophia. I'm learning to accept my place in your life. Secondary, disposable, convenient when you need me, invisible when you don't. That's not fair. Isn't it? When was the last time we had dinner together? When was the last time you came home before midnight? When was the last time you looked at me like I was something other than an inconvenience? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. Daniel, I think we need to talk. We are talking. I mean really talk. About us. About what we want. What do you want, Sophia? Another pause. I want to be happy. And I don't make you happy. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You want excitement, adventure, passion. You want to feel alive, and I make you feel lifeless. Daniel? It's okay, I understand. I'm boring. I'm predictable. I'm everything you don't want in a man. Stop it. Why? It's true, isn't it? You'd rather be anywhere else with anyone else than here with me. Yes. The word came out in a whisper, but it might as well have been a gunshot. God, Daniel, yes, I'm sorry, but yes. There it was, the confession I'd been waiting for. Thank you, I said quietly, for finally being honest. Daniel, I didn't mean... Yes, you did, and that's okay. Tomorrow night at the networking event, we'll both get what we want. What do you mean? You'll see. Good night, Sophia. I hung up and looked at Mike, who had recorded every word. Got it, he said. Audio's crystal clear. I smiled. Then we're ready. Tomorrow night, Sophia was going to learn that boring, predictable husbands could be the most dangerous enemies of all. The Marriott ballroom was packed with the city's business elite, all networking and posturing under crystal chandeliers that cast everything in golden light. I stood near the bar, wearing my best suit and watching Sophia work the room like the predator she was. She looked stunning, as always. Black cocktail dress, diamond earrings I'd bought her for our anniversary, smile that could melt steel. She moved from group to group, collecting business cards and compliments with equal enthusiasm. Liam was across the room, playing his own game. He'd positioned himself near a group of potential investors, his silver tongue spinning tales of luxury developments and guaranteed returns. Every few minutes, he and Sophia would make eye contact and share a secret smile. They thought they were so clever. "You ready for this?" Kristen appeared at my elbow, looking like a warrior queen in navy blue silk. She'd positioned herself strategically, close enough to watch the show, far enough away to maintain plausible deniability. "More than ready. Remember, once this starts, there's no stopping it." I nodded toward the front of the room, where a large screen was being set up for presentations. "Is everything loaded?" "Every photo, every email, every piece of evidence we've gathered, plus the audio from last night." "And the guest list?" 300 of their closest colleagues, plus 5 reporters and a blogger who specializes in business scandals. Your wife wanted to be the center of attention. She's about to get her wish. The evening's program began with the usual speeches about networking and professional development. I half listened, watching Sophia charm a group of potential clients near the front. She was in her element, confident and radiant. She had no idea her world was about to end. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC announced, "we have a special presentation tonight from Daniel Turner, award-winning architect and devoted husband." Sophia's head snapped around, her eyes finding mine across the room. She looked confused. This wasn't part of the program she'd seen. I walked to the podium, feeling 300 pairs of eyes on me. The room fell quiet. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "I want to talk to you about structural integrity, something I deal with every day as an architect, and something that applies to more than just buildings." I clicked the remote, and the first slide appeared on the screen behind me. It was a photo of Sophia and me on our wedding day, young and happy and full of hope. "This is my wife, Sophia Turner. Many of you know her as one of the most successful marketing executives in the city. She's brilliant, ambitious, and absolutely beautiful." Sophia was staring at me now, her face pale. She'd started moving toward the exit, but Kristen's investigator was blocking her path, camera ready. "But what you might not know," I continued, clicking to the next slide, "is that Sophia has been conducting her own kind of marketing campaign." The screen filled with a photo of Sophia and Liam entering the hotel. The room erupted in whispers. "Meet Liam Brooks, successful real estate agent and married father of 2. He's been one of my wife's most enthusiastic clients." Click. Another photo, this one showing them in an intimate embrace. But Liam isn't her only client. Sophia believes in diversifying her portfolio. More photos flashed across the screen. Sophia with different men, in different locations, always looking radiant and alive. "Stop this!" Sophia's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "This is insane." "Is it?" I looked directly at her. "Last night, I asked my wife if she'd rather be anywhere else, with anyone else, than with me. Would you like to hear her answer?" I clicked the remote, and Sophia's voice filled the room. "Yes. God, Daniel, yes. I'm sorry, but yes." The silence was deafening. "But the real revelation," I continued, "came when we discovered this." The screen showed screenshots of the group chat with the Hunters, messages rating married men like restaurant reviews, photos shared like trophies, points awarded for successful seductions. My wife and her friends turned adultery into a game. Married men were worth bonus points. The more successful and taken the target, the higher the score. The crowd was in chaos now. People were pulling out phones, taking pictures, recording video. Sophia was trying to push through the crowd, but reporters were surrounding her, microphones thrust in her face. "Mr. Turner," one of them called out. "How long has this been going on?" "At least 2 years that I can document," I replied calmly. "Possibly longer." "Mrs. Turner," another reporter had cornered Sophia. "Do you have any comment on these allegations?" "This is harassment," she screamed. "He's lying. He's a pathetic, boring man who can't accept that I don't love him anymore." The room fell silent again. Every phone was recording now. "Thank you, Sophia," I said from the podium. I couldn't have asked for a better closing statement. I clicked the remote one final time. The screen filled with a simple message. "When you remove critical support structures, the whole building comes down." I walked off the stage and headed for the exit, leaving behind the chaos I'd created. Sophia was surrounded by reporters, her face twisted with rage and humiliation. Liam was trying to escape through a side door, but Kristen was waiting for him with her own folder of evidence. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone and called Mike. "It's done," I said. "How do you feel?" I thought about that for a moment. "Free." Behind me, I could hear Sophia screaming my name, her voice raw with fury. But I didn't look back. The old Daniel might have felt guilty, might have tried to explain or apologize. But the old Daniel was gone, buried under years of contempt and casual cruelty. The man walking away from that ballroom was someone new, someone who understood that sometimes the only way to rebuild is to demolish everything first. I stepped out into the cool night air and smiled. Tomorrow, I'd start designing a new life. Tonight, I'd finally torn down the old one.